It's Friday. Hello and welcome to it. I'm Tutuzile Ramela. Here are the stories we're tracking for you this evening. 4 men appear in court charged with the rape and murder of a 16-year-old jogger in Tokai Forest. The body of a motorist swept away by flash floods is recovered by emergency services. To comment on any of our stories, you can find us on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNews Direct. Our hashtags this evening, Tokai Teen and Flash Floods. And 4 men have appeared in court in connection with the murder and rape of 16-year-old Franzisca Blchliger. A Constantia Wardlaw pupil was killed while jogging in Cape Town's Tokai Forest on Monday afternoon. A group of protesters gathered outside the Wynberg Magistrates Court today, where the accused made a brief appearance. The men have each been charged with 3 counts of rape, murder and robbery with aggravating circumstances. They're due back in court next Friday and are expected to apply for bail. Details of the crime have shocked those who knew Franzisca.
When it was described how she was beaten, I just saw this child of the forest, I just saw this flower of the forest just fighting back and making sure that it's not going to happen to her. And that was just what went through my mind. And then when they were so descriptive about what happened, I couldn't understand how they could have done to her.
Now, a simple jog has become a matter of life and death in Cape Town. The latest statistics show that a woman is now raped on average every 17 seconds in South Africa. That's up from every 60 seconds. Just days after the rape and murder of a teen who went running in Tokai Forest, a University of Cape Town student was attacked while out for a run near the campus. 2 preteens in Crossroads on the Cape Flats nearly met the same fate.
It's beautiful open spaces like this that Cape Townians have the luxury of taking advantage of. But unfortunately, for many of the city's women, enjoying the outdoors comes at a price. 3 days after 16-year-old Franzisca Blchliger was raped and murdered while jogging in Tokai Forest, another University of Cape Town student became the target of a rapist. She was running in Newlands Forest, close to the campus, when a man allegedly accosted her, held her captive and raped her for hours before letting her go. This is the sad reality for countless women across the city.
Going about their daily routine and not wanting to change their behavior to accommodate what is supposed to be prescribed within the South African context of late, and suffering at the hands of these perpetrators out there that are taking away our human rights, our dignity to live as we choose to.
This mother doesn't want to be identified for fear of reprisal. Her young daughters went for a run outside Crossroads last weekend when a group of men tried to snatch them. They escaped due to the quick thinking of their older sister, who secretly followed them in a car.
I don't know if what happened to them, if my daughter and the boyfriend, they didn't show up to them. I'm scared to our area.
This number represents just how many women have been raped during the broadcast of this story alone. According to the Sarki Bartman Center for Women and Children, a woman is raped in South Africa every 17 seconds. Leanne Jansen, Cape Town.
Let's focus on to other news now. And Tshwane Emergency Services officials have recovered the body of a motorist who was swept away by flash floods yesterday. 40-year-old Leon Stradom had been traveling along a low-lying road in Pretoria North. Police and emergency services officials were forced to abandon the search due to heavy rains late yesterday. The search resumed this morning.
Search and rescue efforts for a missing Pretoria father turned into a dangerous recovery operation. It took emergency services over 3 hours to bring Leon Stradom's car to the surface. But the 40-year-old was not inside.
Yesterday we started with a rescue and search operation. Due to the water that came down the Opis River, we had to stop for a while. This morning we commenced with the search.
Stradom's body was eventually found. His family is distraught.
Inquest case will be opened at the Pretoria North Police Station, and the body wasn't found too far. It's about 1.5 kilometers.
Tshwane Emergency Services remain on high alert as more rain is expected in the capital over the weekend. Leranzo Temba, Pretoria.
The ANC says a resolution has been reached with protesting KwaZitebe residents on KwaZulu-Natal's north coast. The community has been angered by service delivery issues and the alleged incompetence of a councillor. The said official has now been relieved of his duties in a bid to restore peace.
Residents waited several hours to hear from ANC officials. There's been anger here in Isitebe over service delivery and the fitness to hold office of a certain local councillor. It's resulted in several factories and vehicles being burnt and 10 standoffs with police. When the officials finally arrived, they came bearing news the community had been hoping to hear. Confirmation of Councillor Begithemba Magwaza's removal from office.
He is currently a PR councillor serving in a municipality, but it's also now nominated by the branch of the ANC in his ward to become a ward councillor. But the bone of contention is his current responsibility as a PR councillor, because the problem that the community are raising about him has to do with his own conduct.
Interestingly, Magwaza, the former mayor, is still able to stand as an election candidate though. The meeting is a far cry from the first one on Wednesday, where ANC leaders were forced to leave. A community leader says they are happy about the outcome of the negotiations. When asked about the arson attacks, he defended his neighbors.
That was out of hands. When the people are angry, it's not easy to control them, because of the tear gas and the rubber bullets, that they were angry, in fact. But if you can remember what was happening in the morning, nothing was happening in the morning on Monday. Everything was smooth. People, they were singing.
More than 100 local community members are expected to apply for bail next week. Desan Dathia, Isitebe, KwaZulu-Natal.
A quick look at world news now, and a United Nations report says South Sudan's government operated a scorched earth policy of rape, pillage and killing of civilians during 2015. Investigators found that groups allied to the government were allowed to rape women in lieu of wages. Opposition fighters are also accused of committing human rights abuses, but on a lesser scale. The war in South Sudan, the world's newest country, began in December 2013. Thousands of people have been killed and millions displaced since then. Angola's President José Eduardo dos Santos will step down in 2018. He made the announcement at a congress of the ruling MPLA party. Dos Santos has been in power since 1979, making him one of Africa's longest-serving leaders. General elections are scheduled for Angola in August next year. Right, let's see what's topical on social media now. And the National Sex Worker HIV Plan took place in Johannesburg today. Launched by Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa, some alarming stats were revealed, including the shocking figure that between 42 and 72% of sex workers in the major city of South Africa have HIV. And that leads us to our Twitter question for tonight. Do you think sex work should be decriminalized in South Africa? And here we have your responses, or maybe not. 51% of the people voting that sex work should be legalized in South Africa, and 43% voting that it should not be. Well, today marks the 11th of March, which is today. It marks Talk Sign Day. It's a celebration of South Africa's 12th unofficial language. That is the battle that the deaf community has been fighting for years, and feel education is one way to continually raise awareness. For these stories and more, you can follow us on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNews Direct, or head Welcome back. Money Matters now, and ratings agency Moody's is set to visit South Africa next week to decide whether to downgrade the country's credit rating. This, as Pravin Gordhan is in New York to convince investors that all is well with the country's economy. The finance minister admits, however, that his spat with the Revenue Service has come up during meetings in the city. Our New York correspondent Lorna Shattuck sat down with the minister and began by asking him how he's convincing agencies and businesses that South Africa is indeed a safe place for their money.
We are still fiscally reliable, that as government, both in the President's State of the Nation address and in the budget, we've ensured that we pursue the path of fairly aggressive fiscal consolidation, meaning we're narrowing the deficit, we are borrowing less money.
And when it comes to governance, how much concern have investors here and indeed in London, where you were before, expressed about the effect of your perhaps tricky relationship with the Revenue Service recently?
Well, that is an issue, but it's an issue that is a relationship between a minister and an administration's head, and one that in the course of the next few weeks I hope we will be able to resolve. But it's not a disruptive matter at the moment.
But it has been raised by investors here?
Yes, as one of the 100 questions that they ask.
And you missed the deadline for cooperating with the Hawks questions about what was going on at the Revenue Service. So will you be cooperating with that investigation?
Yeah, there's 27 questions to which the answers are in the public domain. There's nothing grand about that. My main task as Finance Minister is to manage the economy.
How confident are you that South Africa will avoid junk status?
We are optimistic by nature. We are a resilient country by nature. But we also understand that we're living in a very turbulent world where there's a lot of negativity towards emerging markets.
And with that, let's see how the markets performed today. Let's check in with the Weather Centre now. Here's Candice.
Welcome to the Weather Centre on Friday night, where we can expect fog to move in along the west coast on Saturday morning. Cloudy and wet weather moves in over the northeastern parts from early on in the day, and we're expecting thundershowers over the northeastern, central and eastern part of South Africa, extending all the way through to the eastern Cape Coast. Hot weather is forecast over the southern part of the country, and we're expecting some light evening rainfall along the southwestern coastline. We're forecasting rain in a high of around 30 degrees for Lundi and Richards Bay. Thundershowers are expected over the interior part of KwaZulu-Natal, with a partly cloudy, warm and dry day over the southeastern parts. You'll see thundershowers mainly over the interior part of the Eastern Cape, but some rain along the coast. Hot over the western parts, with highs heading into the mid-30s. We're also expecting a hot day for George and Plettenberg Bay at around 30 degrees. Evening light rain or drizzle is expected for Cape Town and Hermanus, but with a warm Saturday afternoon with highs in the upper 20s. Sunny and hot over the western part of the Northern Cape, with thundershowers over the eastern parts. You'll see isolated thundershowers throughout the Free State with a high of around 30, other than in Bethlehem and Harrismith, with maximum temperatures peaking in the mid-20s. You'll see a cooler day over parts of the northwest with isolated to scattered thundershowers. Zeeruston, Rustenburg at 26 degrees. A much cooler day as we head towards Limpopo, 23 for Polokwane and Zanin, with a cloudy and wet day in the forecast. Overcast with rain for Bombela at 28, with thundershowers and highs in the mid-20s as we head towards the western part of Mpumalanga. 27 for Pretoria with scattered thunderstorms, and highs in the mid-20s for the rest of Gauteng with isolated thundershowers expected. On Sunday, we're forecasting rain along the coast between George and Richards Bay, with thundershowers over the central and northeastern parts, and by Monday, thunderstorms extend all the way through to the west coast, and we're expecting dry weather over the southern part of South Africa, with the possibility of rainfall along the east coast. That's all from the Weather Centre for now. Have a lovely weekend.
Thank you, Candice. After the break, straight out of Soweto to the international stage, we'll tell you all about how local artist Elo is representing South Africa. Entertainment news now, and a number of South African artists are in Austin, Texas for the South by Southwest Music Festival and Conference. The 9-day event hosts more than 2,000 performers and 30,000 revelers.
Proudly flying the flag. Known as one of the largest music festivals of its kind, at least 5 local artists have cracked the nod. New Kid on the Block, Elo, is one of them.
Some describe it as melancholic R&B with electro influences.
Firstly, don't box it. Secondly, it's a mixture of dance, house, rock, electro, vocals on jazz, like soul, like it's a concoction of anything possible, which is something I really enjoy.
Soweto's Lerato Selane, aka Elo, is bursting into the music scene and making some big waves. And she has some big hair too.
It's been a life struggle for me, this whole not fitting in. So I end up being a very closed up human being, and the expression that I use, you know, is my hair or the way I dress, you know. And I'm at a point right now in my journey where I feel like I've conquered a huge chunk of that, where it's not a need, you know, to be accepted or...
Her debut 6-track EP, Elogram, explores life and her fantasy worlds. Elo will be one of thousands of artists on stage in Texas, and it doesn't end there. Her international appeal is taking her to Spain, France, and of course, the Big Apple.
I believe in miracles, like chocolate was made for God.
Let us know what you think of Elo at eNCA and at eNews Direct. It's as simple as yes please or nah girl. Nontabeko Sbisi, Johannesburg.
A reminder of the day's top stories before we say goodbye. 4 men appear in court charged with the rape and murder of a 16-year-old jogger in Tokai Forest. The body of a motorist swept away by flash floods is recovered by emergency services. And that's our lot for the week.
It is. Rhythm City's up next.
To share your views, you can send us an email to enewsdirect@etv.co.za.
You can, of course, just chat to us on Twitter and Facebook, and our handle is @eNewsDirect.
Until Monday night, have a fantastic weekend. Bye-bye.